So we have, speaking of Jeff Banks, we've got the Texas Longhorns moving into that number 2 spot that was vacated by Ohio State after the loss. Miami also takes a tumble down 6 spots to number 14. Clemson takes a tumble after their loss down 6 spots to number 18. The rest of it is mostly just shuffling the pieces around on the board. Tom, is there any movement in the poll as a consensus or any other individual spots that stood out to you with the new college football rankings?
I mean, at the top of the poll, no. I mean, it mostly makes sense to me. It is funny to see Boise State ranked 10 ahead of Alabama, South Carolina, Miami, Ole Miss, Arizona State, all these teams that, nobody would probably favor them against. But it's nice to see that they're actually kind of starting to get some credit. But overall, at the top, I really don't have any qualms. There's just one minor qualm at the bottom. So I'll let you guys discuss anything more bigger if you have ideas before I go into it.
Kind of want to hear it.
All right. Go ahead, Danny.
I was just going to say I was curious to see where, and again, this one doesn't matter as much as tomorrow night's, obviously, but I was curious to where Miami would drop because I don't think their 2 losses are devastating. When they happened is what's devastating them. Losing 2 out of your last 3 is probably what's going to do Miami in. I think if it was in a vacuum and we're doing what we're supposed to do, which is compare resumes and take everything into consideration, I think they'd probably be right there on the bubble, maybe even in. But because it's a recency and because we just saw them lose 2 out of their last 3, I think it keeps them out. That was the one thing I was curious.
All right. And then I'll go into my little thing here. Now, I know I am wearing a Colorado shirt right now, but I promise you there's no bias involved here. Colorado is ranked 20th. Illinois is ranked 21st. Both teams are 9-3. Colorado's best wins are Baylor, at Colorado State, and at Texas Tech. Illinois' best wins are at Nebraska, Michigan, and at Rutgers. Now, those together, you could argue any way you want as the best wins. But where things get interesting, Colorado's losses at Nebraska, Kansas State, at Kansas. None of them are ranked. Illinois' losses at Penn State, number 4, at Oregon, number 1, and Minnesota, unranked. Now it gets even more interesting because I mentioned a couple of Colorado's losses at Nebraska and at Kansas. Do you know what 2 teams beat Nebraska and Kansas this year? That would be Illinois. So Illinois got better losses, and in the common opponents, it's 2-0 compared to Colorado's 0-2. So I would like to ask Matt Brown why you have Colorado at 18 and Illinois unranked. Reese Davis, I would like to ask you, Reese, I know you're listening. I know you love the show. Why you have Colorado at 20 and Illinois unranked. Stephen Means, I would like to ask you why you have Colorado at 21 and Illinois unranked. Koki Riley, Colorado 21, Illinois unranked. Derek Red, Colorado 14, Illinois 24. Also, a couple voters had Duke ahead of Illinois. One of them was Reese Davis. Reese, what the hell did I do to you? Like, did I say something bad about Alabama and you're trying to get revenge? Explain to me what world Colorado deserves to be ranked ahead of Illinois.
Was Illinois blown out by any bad teams?
No.
Oh, so just by the only undefeated team in the country, the number 1 seed in the playoff?
Yeah. And they lost by 14 to Penn State. Yep.
Colorado was blown out by
the Nebraska team that Illinois beat in Lincoln.
Oh, okay. And then what about the Kansas? Kansas made a bowl at least, right?
Oh, no, Kansas didn't. No, they got so close. They got so close, but they were so tired after beating Colorado that they couldn't finish the job.
Hey, have we done a season win total update for the checks? I'm getting a lot of hate for my Duke pick, but I think I went to Florida State, so the math ain't great. But 1, 2, 3, 4.
I think you're good. I
go 7-1 on season win total picks.
I think I'm horrendous. So I think I got a lot of L's on the board.
Okay. Yeah, I lost Duke.
I mean, that's what happens when you buy up all the Oklahoma State stock that is available.
Also, everybody else bought Duke or bought the Duke under? Everybody, because by the time we released these in late July, those numbers were gone. We couldn't even put it on there.
Looking ahead to Tuesday night, the thing that is going to be the most interesting to me is going to be how they decide to put Alabama, South Carolina and Ole Miss against each other, because what the AP voters have done is they have moved South Carolina ahead of Ole Miss, even though Ole Miss defeated South Carolina. And it's led to two programs that, to Bud's point, are not often in the conversation at all right now, unless they are about to make a coaching change or looking for a new head coach. And they're in the national championship conversation by being bubble teams in the college football playoff. So Ole Miss fans are going to say, what in the world? Why would South Carolina be ahead of us? South Carolina fans are going to say, we're one of the hottest teams in the country. We're so much different than where we were when we played Ole Miss earlier this season. Ole Miss is going to say head-to-head should matter. Then South Carolina is going to say common opponent should matter because Kentucky beat Ole Miss and we beat Kentucky. I mean, it is going to get twisted and it is going to get convoluted. But here is what I think. The College Football Playoff Selection Committee will tell us what the wait list looks like on Tuesday night, because what Alabama, South Carolina, and Ole Miss all have in common is they cannot play another game before the selection Sunday. So whatever order the committee puts them in, like should be the order. Like, there is no reason that they should change the order of those three teams against each other from Tuesday to Selection Sunday with 0 games played, right? Is that a fair assumption?
Yes.
Is that not a fair assumption?
It's
So I think
logical that you would not do so. Is it probable? Do you think it's going to happen, or you just think it should happen?
I think that we will see that Alabama, South Carolina, Ole Miss debate settled on Tuesday night. I think they're going to stack them up in a certain order, and then that will tell us the stakes the rest of the way, at least in terms of making that argument. Like, there will be one team that will make an argument to either be in and the if SMU loses scenario. There will be the second team in that order that's going to start taking aim at Indiana with a losing argument. And then the third team is out. And that's kind of how I'm imagining it will go of those SEC 3.
How would you power rank which ones you think are most likely to get in?
How would I power rank which one? Like, hold on. Am I setting odds or using like a power ranking?
I'm just saying your favorites. Like, which one of the 3 do you think is most likely to get in, and which one's the least likely?
I think
They're
Alabama
not should, but will.
Yeah, I think Alabama's the most likely because it is the easiest argument to make with the win against Georgia. I think Ole Miss
And South Carolina.
and South Carolina, which is going to sort of keep it in order. I think that Ole Miss may be the least likely.
Did you know Ole Miss has a lower strength of schedule than Illinois? Brett Bielema taught us that yesterday.
We'll see. Thank you, Brett Bielema and Lane Kiffin.
Yes,
Do they
he's a
like
meat grinder?
I will say,
close losses for Ole Miss?
I mean, and Ole Miss has got the Georgia win.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
does it matter?
So does
Sorry.
Bama.
Does it matter if Georgia beats Texas for Alabama's case?
Yes.
I think so too. I think if you have a win over the SEC champion, it
Helps
is
you.
likely to help you. I will encourage you guys to look around if you're playing these playoff markets right now, because our friends at FanDuel have SMU to make it at minus 390 and plus 280 to miss, whereas that number is like 100 cents different at some other spots. So if you like the no side, FanDuel is definitely where you want to play that. Yeah, if you like the yes side, maybe shop a little bit. But most of the other numbers are real close, right? Like the Miami 35-1 stuff got hit decently, but that's probably still a pretty big, long shot.
Oh, Miami also include that in the with those SEC 3. I don't think Miami's going to, if there's only one spot available, I don't think Miami at 10-2 is jumping ahead of one of those SEC 3. But
Does it help them avoid that altogether? That was the only thing I was thinking about. Like last year, they had the Alabama, Texas dilemma unfolding before them. It's like, who are you going to choose? You had the head-to-head, and so they just kept them both. Is there a way that they can't pick between these 3, and they're like, we'll just give it to Miami? Their record is better. They're 10-2, and then we don't even have to answer any questions about the 9-3 teams?
They could, but then Greg Sankey storms into the room.
Yeah. Like he did at halftime of the Georgia Tech game.
And he lays down the law and things change.
if they are going to take a page from like the NCAA tournament selection committee, oftentimes they are looking for, do you have wins against teams that are in our field? And if they are, to follow that, Miami has 0. Everybody else is going to have a win against a team in the field.
That's the one thing that kills them.
Yeah. So I think that's the easy one to explain away rather than it being an easy road to put them in.
So South Carolina is rooting for Texas
Mm-hmm.
and for Clemson, right?
No.
Or are they
South
actually rooting for SMU because then like Clemson has no at-large case?
Correct.
They're
But-
rooting for SMU so that Clemson's out of the paint and SMU is not an at-large candidate.
I think so too, but there is some possibility that that game is largely irrelevant for them because if Clemson wins, then they have a win over the ACC champion.
Potentially, yeah.
Texas is definitely the result they need. Like Bama with head-to-head over South Carolina and a win over SEC champion Georgia. South Carolina's night-night.
All right. We've got more. We'll do this on Tuesday night again as well when we react to those rankings because
The SMU thing is going to be the big one.
the SM, yes,
Mm-hmm.
Like, is SMU in with a loss?
right.
A lot of people think yes. I'm not convinced
I am not convinced either.
For SMU in with a loss,
with a loss. Correct.
I'd have a real problem with that.
And look, I think
Right,
that
and
there's
people will, and
I think
hey,
it was,
trust me,
but-
there's going to be a problem. Somebody's getting screwed. Like, yeah, it would be SMU would be the easy target. No brand, you lost
big-
to Clemson. I get it, but like if
I think-
you're
I
Rhett
think the big-
Lashley,
The Big
I
Two's
would-
got this thing by the,
Correct.
They call the shots. Yeah.
correct, and Notre Dame, the Big Two and Notre Dame have this thing by the balls.
Yep.
But if you're Rhett Lashley, like, what's the that's why don't even play. Like, come up with COVID. Say we got a COVID outbreak. We have a sickness. We can't show up. Like, if Notre Dame doesn't have to play, why should we?
what a Florida State mindset.
Let's go. Let's do it. I'm gonna call Rhett Lashley and give him the game plan.
Yeah.
Like, let's forfeit.
That's the accomplish greatness unless it doesn't work for you, then sit out and opt out. That's what ACC
But
is.
Indiana's another one. I mean, Tennessee, a lot of these teams, one loss, their resume goes up better than better than Notre Dame or Indiana's. Their resume.
If SMU gets in the playoff, do they get a cut of the ACC's playoff revenue?
They do. Thank you for asking.
Okay.
So what they have forfeited
Is the
the TV regular season money.
TV?
The success initiatives, which were created to placate the crying of Florida State and Clemson, will be then handed to SMU, to which case I want SMU to come forward and say, hey, you know what? I'm going to give this back to y'all. Like, we don't need it. Obviously, y'all need it. So
Do we
yes.
realize how dumb it is that, and no offense to Bailey Brad, he said Notre Dame can't get a bye. That's the trade-off. What are they doing this weekend? That is your bye. That is your bye. They get a bye this weekend. So do all these teams. Like, that's the thing that's crazy about it. Once the season ends, to win a national championship, you'll have to win 4 games. Like, when you play them doesn't matter.
Yeah,
Right?
but technically everybody gets a 2-week bye before the playoff even begins.
Right. But I'm
So-
just saying, like, it's 4 games. Like, if you're looking at games total, everyone has to win 4 games. Like, the conference champions will have to win an extra game. Then they get the bye, and then they play 3. Note all those teams that get the first round.
Then they get more
game.
rest.
The losers of the conference title games are the ones with the toughest draw.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
And I only think 2 conference title game losers, maybe
Will
3,
advance.
will actually
Yes.
make the playoff.
It
Mhm.
better be 3.
Well, no. Don't say it better be 3.
No, because if Clemson loses,
Clemson
is a
loses.
no case.
I'm okay with
Yeah.
Clemson bouncing.
Yeah.
I think I really think people need to rethink this idea that the bye week is a huge advantage, or that the 5 seed is some huge advantage. That logic to me makes more sense if you have like real dominant teams at the top. When everybody is this close, I don't think that's the case. I think you want the bye.
My man, Bud. I brought him into the fold.
Let's go.
I've been pushing back on this for a while. You've been right. It's
Clip that.
Flip it.
Clip it, Mikey.